Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Marketing Corner by Jen and Casper. Today we're going to be talking about something that's on every marketeer's mind when they have to start. How do I structure my marketing department? So marketing roles, how do you build it up, and everything around that marketing structure. Can you maybe start, Jen, by introducing a little bit of how your marketing structure looks today at Dixon?
Yeah, I think right now we're in a very good place at Dixon where we have a rather large team. We are currently at 9 people, which is really exciting. So we kind of look at the team and we split it down the middle, branding and lead gen. And all the kind of disciplines fall into, for us, those 2 buckets, and just make sure we keep a good balance between the 2.
I always feel like I never have enough resources.
Never.
If I'm one person, I don't have enough. If we're 10, we still don't have enough. It never gets better. Like I'm in the interesting position right now where I started in January, and I think building it up from scratch. Of course, I'll talk about what we did at Templify, but now I actually have to start from scratch, right? Like I started from scratch. Today we have a head of content on the team, and have 2 part-timers with the acquisition we got. So they're part of the team, and a part-time designer. But the next role I'm hiring is a paid specialist, right? And I think I actually got a lot of questions on that. So from a few people, like, why are you hiring a paid specialist? And I want to bring up, so let's say you're the first marketing person on the team. In my opinion, what you should do is be extremely, look in the mirror, if you can do that, and look yourself in the eye and say, what is it that I'm really good at? What are you really, really good at? I think for both of us, you just explained that, we're good at paid ads. We know the paid ad game. Like that's how I was brought up. Performance marketing, that's my jam. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot about other stuff, SEO, content, yada, yada, yada. But my jam is definitely paid ads. So we decided, okay, cool. But so what is the foundation around what we need to build it up? Well, I need to produce some content. I need to produce blogs, SEO pages, industry pages, customer cases, all that. And I write fine LinkedIn posts. I don't write long blog posts. That's not really my forte. So that's what I brought in. But my example is actually really funny because I mentor a guy, bring it up. He's a really cool guy at a head of marketing in a startup too. And he's really, really good at communication and PR, like outstandingly good. We get free press releases every now and then. He produces blogs like Goes No Tomorrow. He's really good at that stuff. On the paid side of things, he's very inexperienced though. Like he's never done Facebook ads and stuff like that. But that's also what I said to him. Recognize your own strengths and weaknesses. So you don't need another content writer. You can do that in the beginning. You need someone who can drive your paid ads for you.
Exactly.
The only reason I get a paid ad specialist now is because I don't have time to do everything. That also becomes a thing, right? But I don't know. Have you ever had to make have you ever viewed it the same way when you're building a team and stuff? Like how do you look at what you're capable of and what you're supposed to be capable of?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that you bring up a really great point of like looking in the mirror and go, what am I good at? But also, what am I not good at? And I am not good at content. I'm not good at SEO. It is not my strong point. It's not an interest of mine at all. I know it's important. I recognize it's important, but I would never be like, I want to take over SEO. I can't think of anything worse for me. So, that's where I'm like, I need a content person who knows SEO.
Yeah.
And then, we kind of build from there. And then, so we have that person come in, and then at least, I have my strength, and then my weakness is being that kind of gap is being plugged by this person who's good at that. And then I think, from there, it kind of happens organically. Like you kind of think, okay, what's next? So in my case, we needed a lot more content because content takes a long time. Making an ad doesn't take that long. Let's be honest. We can launch a campaign in an hour. But writing a really good high value content piece, that takes time, that takes effort, that takes editing, that takes research. So, I would put more resources, I think, into the branding side of things in the beginning. And then as we got more sophisticated and I was doing more and more ads, it was like, I could really use an automation specialist. I could really use a marketing ops person who can help me set up everything in HubSpot, which we use, all these workflows. Like I can do it, but again, it's going to take me a lot longer to do that and my job.
Yeah.
and I know that it's going to have an impact. So then we bring in a marketing ops, and then so you kind of do branding, and you kind of, try to keep each other.
Exactly.
I'm doing a visual for for a podcast.
The listeners can't see, but Jen is drawing a lot with her hands right now. It's awesome.
I'm doing a lot of hand motions. No, but you kind of try to keep the balance going. So maybe you get a little top heavy in branding, but then that automatically means that you're growing, so that you need more in the lead gen side, or you're getting more leads in, but then that you're going to need more customer case stories. You're going to need more, landing pages and things like that. And that's where you need to kind of keep that balance going.
Exactly. And I think you bring up, and I think 9 out of 10 companies do that, right? Because they see, okay, here now we've gotten to this point, damn, we have all these design tasks we need solved, we should get a designer. Or we have all these blah, blah, blah tasks, we need to hire and slowly scale accordingly when you see it. And I am all for that. Like, I think that's the right way to do it. And I think that's what you should do in most cases. But I have actually a quite unique challenge where I am now with United FinTech, is that we are scaling so rapidly. Technically, we're already 70 people in less than a year, right? Because we buy companies. And by the end of next year, it wouldn't surprise me if we're close to 500 people. So if I were to do it the same way as a normal scaling approach, I would hire too slowly, literally too slow. Because what a roadmap that's been approved is that we hire 12 people for marketing next year, right? Like roadmap approved, right? If I were to start hiring them at an other point, it would be, not super beneficial. Like, it would be too slow because, once you start hiring, it takes at least a few months before it's in place. So you have to start planning in the future. And that's actually, I had my former boss at Templify, CCO Rasmus, and he actually gave me a really good way to do it. So he said, hey, Casper, try, if you can, to put out all the tasks that needs to be solved this year and next year. At least as long as you can plan in the future, and try to split it up. So I did that. So I did okay, what tasks can I see coming up in creative design? And not like a one-off project, but like longer, tasks, right? What the same in copywriting, paid traffic, operations, brand, different MRO, SEO, thought leadership, website, all these different areas that we cover. And then I started to map down all the different tasks all around, and then I would color them for each person in the team. So I would color all the paid stuff. I call that green because that was Casper. So I can handle these things for now. And then we would have okay, damn, there's a lot of tasks in copywriting that we're not solving right now. Okay, let's get ahead of content. That's the right one for now. Then I can see that we're gonna have a lot of design tasks. Okay, let's put that one. Then we look, okay, now we have those, we color those, and then we'll have that by end of Q3, let's say that. Then what are we then missing at that stage? Okay, then we're missing SEO and stuff. But then you can go and say, Casper has a lot of paid traffic on his table. So maybe we should probably get someone to do that. And that's the way I did for year one. But that also helped me say, okay, because the investors asked, what are you going to do with all this money that you get from your business, right? They're like, okay, we're going to have 12 people in marketing. What are those 12 people going to do? You got to have an idea of it. So where are you going? So to be honest, I made a roadmap for the next 5, up until 2025, right?
Nice.
For what people we need. Yes, is it going to hold? I don't think so. It'll be a lot different. But at least I tried to think about it.
We did something kind of similar where we use Asana in the marketing team, because I really like the kind of lists that you can make and the cards. Great. And we, very similar to you, we did a color coding of all the tasks based on color. So paid ads, me, but for a paid ad, I'm going to need a creative, I'm going to need video, I'm going to need copy. I can make the audiences, I can do all of this stuff, but I need a landing page. I need content on that landing page. I need a workflow on that landing page. And, you kind of see it like a spider web kind of going out and out and out. And then with the color coding, we could say, okay, I was pink for paid for whatever reason, for fuchsia. But, you could see a lot of paid stuff, but then that bled into design. And then we needed a lot of design. And then, so that was a really good, like you said, a way of visualizing how much does each person have on their plate. And what we saw, again, was content was just because sales want customer case studies. They need slides. They need reports. They need, and we had a one one content person, bless her soul, because she was, kept really, really, really busy.
And then in Templify, we would have these we'd have every month, we would have these weekly or monthly planning sessions. What are you working on next month? Super healthy. I still do it with the marketing team today. And I FinTech, so do some of the things. But one of the things that I realized, and I talked with one of my old former boss, Glenn, about as well, is that we kept bringing up, like, sometimes you just have one thing this month, right? But that doesn't mean you're not busy. That just means, like, we were rolling out a new website. Well, then our front end website person was just like, I'm just doing website this month. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
And maybe the designer would be like, I'm just doing website. I don't have other projects. That doesn't mean that it's not time consuming and it's not a big task, right? That's also something I'm try to be aware of when I look at this sheet. Because, like, okay, there's a lot of tasks in paid traffic and copywriting, but some of them are not that big. Some of them don't take forever, right? Let's say if we decide to make a guide a year, well, then we make that one guide. It doesn't have to be super long, so it's not something you do all year. You just produce right? Whereas there's other story, other things where I have on the brand level. Well, brand story does that ever stop? Like, does it ever so defining these tasks, I think the first exercise you need to do, at least, is try to map it down. And I think both of us have done that and try to map out all the tasks. And then you can, from there, if you look yourself in the eye, then you can start defining, okay, what do we need to solve? What is really important? Because it's also different. I'm planning to hire a product marketeer later this year. That was kind of on the roadmap, right? And that, would I do that in a normal marketing department? Maybe if I started Templify over again or Dixon? Possibly, probably, yeah, I would probably actually do that. But I wouldn't do that in every case, though. It's not always necessary. Product marketing, at least that early on, in my opinion. But it depends, right? So of course, it's unique from case to case. It's kind of the point.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, we just got a product marketing manager as well, and that was something that upper management really, really wanted. But I think, there's kind of a chicken and egg, right? If you don't have a brand yet, you don't really not necessarily need a product marketing focus. But once you get bigger and once people know your name and things like that, then you really want to start pushing features and doing a lot of product marketing. And we recognize also, we kind of made maybe a Venn diagram of kind of what would sit in product marketing, what would sit in content marketing and branding, what would sit in lead gen. And you have to, you take all these tasks, because marketing, I've been waiting for a quiet time in marketing for probably the last 6 years or something.
Happen, right?
So there's always stuff to be done, and then you have, we take a request, our C-level, we need someone to manage their social media accounts. Where does that go in? And put everything in these buckets. And then that's how you kind of figure out what is a priority, and that's, and I think a lot of things, what I struggled with was, you have to make a business case for every position, right?
Yes.
And so I can't just go, I need content, and you guys want content, so we're going to get you content. I have to say, this is the business impact of not having this. We, our SEO, we increased our SEO traffic by 56% once we took on an agency. That's great. And that's a nice metric of, boom, here's proof of why this was a good investment. Now imagine if I had an SEO dedicated content writer, what we could do with that. And, you kind of have to make a case. And I'm in an interesting position that I started as the digital marketing manager. And then I was brought in as head of. So I had my baby to focus on, my area. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'm just going to put my headphones on and make some ads.
Yeah.
Can't do that now. Now I'm like HR. I'm, approving holidays. I'm looking at content. I'm getting a much broader view of what it takes to run a marketing team and to make that business case over and over again. You're learning how to speak like a C-level or how to speak like the upper management to make your case to get the positions and the resources that you need.
That's a totally different aspect of it, right? Something we haven't really covered, but it's a great point, right? Stakeholder management is a pretty big deal when you're a head of marketing, because the problem is not for us as marketeers to understand why we need that person. Like you and I, if I told you, hey, I need a SEO person on the team for technical SEO, migration projects, content optimization, yada, 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 you would be like, makes sense. Let's go, right? Like if you, let's say you were my boss in a second.
Give me a blank check.
Yeah,
and I will give
go.
you.
That makes a lot of sense. That's going to perform really well, especially if you don't like us. We don't have it yet, right? So it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is once you become like once you have to like it's not just you who decides this, right? Like you're a part of an organization, and it's part of like building where do you focus, because that person could also be a sales rep, right? They could also be a developer. It could also be something else. Mm-hmm. So you have to make your case for it, and that is hard. Like that sometimes is really hard, especially, and I think we talked about this earlier, when the fundamental thing that person is supposed to do is not clear to the people you're selling it to. And let's say you have a management board, and just to make it simple, let's say to the CTO, I'm trying to explain why I need a copywriter. Like maybe you're lucky and CTO gets it right away, but normal, typical CTO is very product focused, doesn't understand the broader. Don't try and speak down to CTOs. They're way smarter than I am typically. But my point is,
we all have our areas.
Yeah, exactly. We all have our areas, right? Like the same way if a CTO explained to me why he needed a PPS developer or something, it's like it would be like, I don't know, it sounds great. So we have to trust that each department knows what they're doing, of course, right? But it's stakeholder, like envisioning, painting that vision for where the marketing department is going. That I think that's something I discovered. That's what you need to be really good at as a head of marketing today and a CMO. To be able to explain to other people why you're doing what you're doing with the marketing department and then marketing and brand in general.
Yes.
I was not good at that 2 years ago. I'm way better now. Like I can do it now, and I've understood how important it is.
And I think it also comes back to, having it, whether it's C-level, vice president level, whatever that is, understanding marketing, because this comes up time and time and time again of show us the return on investment. And that's, as we mentioned with the tracking changes, that's going to be harder to do for us paid people, paid specialists and things like that. That's going to be harder to show attribution. And when you have C-level, I find are very, very focused on branding, understandably. But that's all they sometimes see is why aren't we here? Why aren't we here? Why aren't we here? But then that doesn't necessarily translate to revenue. And so it's this kind of, as the head of marketing, maybe sometimes there's assumed knowledge where you're like, well, of course we need people to do ads. Of course we need people to do content. Exactly. And so, you have to have dedicated people. And I think that something that we talked about a little bit was like having specialists versus generalists. 100%. And I would love to hear your take on, when you look at positions, when you look at someone's CV, what is it that you look for, and how do you decide what to do?
So in the beginning of a startup, just like where United FinTech is right now, or where I was with Compliant or Templify, in the beginning, you need generalists. That doesn't mean you need the old classical tale of a T-shaped marketeer. You need someone who's like who has an area, of course, but who's also like willing to get your hands dirty. A good example is actually myself. So I was responsible for all paid traffic at Templify originally, but then I also made nurture flows. I made conversion rate optimization. I also launched our chatbot. I integrated with inbound the departments. I made the marketing dashboards, reports, and all that stuff. Is it all part of traffic management, managing the channels? Some of it is maybe, yes, but most of it is not, right? But that's because like you need to have someone who's willing to do the dirty work on other departments. I find that's interesting, and I found that interesting. So that's also why the head of content person I brought in, like she's very focused on content and that production, but she can span quite widely. Like she can go into other territories easily. And you need people like that in the beginning. Like in the beginning of a startup, you need people who can do that. But once you grow, it changes 180, in my opinion. Because then you get to a point where you like, now you need specialists, big time. And we reached that point with Templify. In my opinion, it happens quite fast. So let's say around between 5 and 10 employees. Once you get in marketing, once you get to that level, you really, in my opinion, start to need specialists. You need like, okay, I need the best person on marketing operations who knows how HubSpot works. I need someone who's an expert on that. I need someone who's an expert on creative. Like I need that designer to just be the king of the site.
Just be designing.
And you need specialists, right? And even once you get to even larger scales, I need a Google ad specialist who's just good at Google ads, or if that's your channel, or like the channel you promote, or Facebook, or whatever it is, right? And you start specializing, because that's the way you grow further. But up until, like, I would say, if you're less than 50 employees in total in your startup, then I think you go for the T-shaped marketeer. And then once you transition into more than that, then you start to look at people who are specialists.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think that's the, I don't want to say like the kiss of death for the generalist, but it's true that if you can be the one, you can be the first person in marketing, right? You can be the one who's setting absolutely everything up, but then once you help it grow, you almost make yourself obsolete.
Yes.
And that's the danger. And that's one of the really difficult things I think about living that startup life is once you get in on the ground and you start to build everything up, then you've made this growth happen. Like it would not have happened without you. But now people are going to go, okay, but then where do you fit in? Because now we're going to have a paid specialist because we need that. And then we're going to get a content person. And you've kind of done a little bit of both of these. So where do we put you? And that's
100%. And it's so funny that you bring this up, because I'll get a little personal now. But that's actually one of the things I faced at Templify. So when I started, there was the head of marketing, and then there was the head of communications person, and then there was me. Where very quickly we had a student assistant, Jane, awesome at SEO, really cool. And we were 3.5 people for quite some time. We got some copywriters and stuff. So in the beginning, it made total sense, right? And now by the end, when I left Templify, which is when this comes out, approximately a year ago, then there were 17 people in marketing. And I had slowly moved myself away from paid marketing over to growth and try to find my way a little bit. But in the essence, now I look back on it, I was just trying to be a generalist in a specialist world. And that's really hard. But I want to say one thing, because I totally agree with you that it's hard for a generalist once you reach that stage. But the generalists are also the people who elevate themselves to become more, to become the head of marketing, just like you and me. We are both generalists. Yes, we started as paid marketing specialists, but we're the classical T-shape. We know a lot of things and do things very well, right? And that's why we are. I go so far to say we are better as marketing leaders than specialists are. It's not an attempt to humble brag this here, but I really believe that that's where you actually. So, and the problem I couldn't do that because we already had a really good head of marketing, and that's actually why I decided, wow, I need to move on. I have hit my glass ceiling. And this is a discussion for another time maybe. But how do you, as an organization, make sure that people don't hit that glass ceiling if they're generalists? And that's hard to do. That's really hard to do.
No, but I think, you definitely made a very valid point that, because I've done a little bit of everything, I'm a much better manager now. So I have a better understanding of what my content team's going through. I have a much better understanding of what the paid team is going through. And I can also help elevate them, because that's also something that I always do with my team, where I'm like, you have to keep learning. I have to keep learning. That's the reason we were talking, off air. That's one of the reasons we're doing this podcast, right? Is like, we have to keep learning. You have to keep pushing yourself, because especially in digital marketing or any kind of digital landscape, it changes so quickly. And if you're not keeping up to date, you're going to make yourself obsolete. And, I would consider myself probably more of a paid specialist, but I can sit in on a content meeting and help. And also I think that helps knowing a little bit of everything. I can help drive that content direction that will help drive leads, because you have the better overview and you can kind of break down those barriers. So I think that's a really great, you made me feel better about
but I really believe that. And it's a weird jump to be in. Sometimes it's not always that easy to do that. It's not always possible, as you can see, but that I really believe that is what you need to do. Because today, in order to run marketing today, you don't need to be a specialist in everything, but you need to have an understanding of how SEO works. If I didn't have an understanding of how SEO works, I wouldn't be able to invest in it. I know how important it is, and I know how it works intrinsically. I just never done it. But I know how important it is. I know all the things. That's why I'm putting it prioritizing the way I do. And if I didn't know SEO was important, I would probably prioritize it last, and that would be a mistake. in my opinion. Right?
Yep. No, that's a great point. Yeah, exactly. Like SEO is not my strong point, but I know enough to look at 5 different agencies and go, you're going to give me what I need.
Exactly.
Now go do it.
Exactly.
I don't want to do it, but I know enough that I know what I need and I know what needs to be done. Yeah.
Exactly. Cool. I think we already ran out of time, plenty ahead,
Probably.
like usual. But do you have any final notes on this one, again?
I think, just, for actionable steps, I think your point is great. Map out your tasks for the year. And then for me, I like to try to categorize them into branding and lead gen. That just works for me. That helps me allocate resources, put all the activities in those 2 buckets and figure out who's going to do what is their capability. And remember that things always come up. It's never a schedule that you just go like clockwork. There's always going to be extra stuff. So, and that helps me kind of prioritize tasks. If you're not going to get the resources, then you're going to have to say no. And that's maybe another topic for another podcast, but being able to say no and know that you need to focus on what you need to focus on to get shit done.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. I think that's a great point. And I actually don't have anything to add. I think we're done here. It's good.
We're done here.
Take care, people. Here. Good luck. Good luck with building your teams, and thanks for listening.
Yes. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.